Hi YouTube, this is Marquita. I'm coming at you. I wanted to do a quick little video on everything going on, and I want people to realize that it's a time of self-reflection. So I'm getting everybody saying, I'm so bored, I don't have anything to do, I'm off work and I have a house full of kids, things like that. And at the end of the day, I want you to realize that this is a time of self-reflection, because I want you to realize that these things, as the Bible say, this too shall pass. So after this passes, are you wanting to be in the same place you were prior to this then? So I really want you to self-reflect during this time, because areas of self-reflection show where you limit yourself in your life, where you can grow. And this is mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And a lot of people don't process that daily. I would suggest doing a journal anytime any type of extra emotions come up for you. Document that, write that down, record it if you can't write. Some people can't write. So there are so many methods that we can use with technology. Record it out loud on a voice recording. Hey, I'm feeling emotionally drained right now because spiritually, I do not feel connected right now because. Acknowledge what comes up within you so that you can know what that sparks up. Because a lot of times people don't realize that those are triggers to lead to you drinking, to lead to you smoking, to lead to these addictions that we all have because they're habitual. So I would like to challenge you. I would love to challenge you to do something different, to implement change, to start recognizing small areas where you can implement change to do and be better. The main question I really have for you is, what can you do to increase yourself during this time? I'm going to ask that question one more time. What can you do? You, yourself, within your powers, within your resources, within your limits. What can you do to increase yourself during this time? We all have different resources. And so I don't expect the way that I do something to be the same way that you do something. The way that I interpret an action is going to be a different method of how you interpret an action, because everyone is different. So what can you do to increase yourself, to increase your family, to increase everything mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? We all have different things that we ourselves can do that are within our means. So I challenge you during this time of you saying how bored you are. I challenge you to attempt to do whatever it takes for you to increase in your life. Look up these educational programs to help you increase your education right now. Go read a couple books. If you can't read, look up resources that teach you how to read. Look up resources. If you have cable, there are so many free educational programs going on right now, just for our kids, because they're out of school. I don't have children, but for everyone else's kids, but while they're out of school, you may need those same resources, because you don't have that type of educational level yourself. And that's okay. And I want people to realize that it's okay. It's okay to recognize your weaknesses, because recognizing your weaknesses is what makes you stronger and makes you want to achieve and be more and do more. And being more and doing more for yourself means being more and doing more for your family, which means being more and doing more, which means you're aware. And when we become aware of things that are going on around us, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and we can process all of that, that is what builds our society. There is so much that we can do right now to make sure that we are good. Like Michael Jackson says, I'm looking at the man in the mirror and I'm asking him to change his ways. You have to look at yourself first, because you are the image of change. And I want you to be the reflection of change that you want to see in our society. But what can you do to get to that area of self-reflection? How can you get to that area of self-reflection? These are things that I want you to be able to think about right now. I'm tired of hearing people saying they're so bored. You're not bored. There are things that you can do to where you're not in the same place that you were previous, because you might not be working right now. You might be working from home right now. And in working from home, you necessarily don't even have to leave anymore, which means you got an extra 20 minutes to an hour a day because you don't have to worry about the commute, right? Take that extra time that you don't have to worry about the commute from work and actually think about stuff for yourself. Where do I want to be 20 years from now? What steps can I take starting today to make sure that I can get to that place 20 years from now? Create weekly goals, daily goals. You might even create an hourly goal just to make sure that you can get to the next moment. And that's okay too. You want to make sure that you're able to get to the next moment. Journal on that. Right now, mentally, I'm so stressed out because my kids are working my nerves. And I have nothing, I really don't know what I can do besides one of my other coping mechanisms, like smoke a cigarette, get high, take a shot. But let's remember, when you do things of this nature, you're not conscientiously aware anymore of what's going on, because you're shuffling that feeling to the side. And we don't need those feelings shuffled to the side. We need that energy so we can focus on the energy necessary to channel our children to be able to, let's calm down for a moment. Let's help mother or father have a moment of clarity. Let's relax for a moment. Have that moment where you say, we're going to sit in 5 minutes, of quiet time together as a family, Indian style. And we're going to just sit here together and talk for a second. Like, sit there in silence for like 5 minutes with your kids. If they're old enough, I know that. And sometimes you can challenge the younger kids because they want a challenge. Give them a challenge. If you do this for 5 minutes, you can have your favorite snack. Or you can watch your favorite TV show. But we have to do this for 5 minutes. And you challenge them for that 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden, when that 5 minutes, when that timer dings off, you're all of a sudden in a moment with your child where, what did you think about during this 5 minutes of quiet time? And your children can up and tell you what, I was thinking about my favorite TV show, or I was thinking about you. See, these are things that you don't realize what your kids see with you. So you'll be surprised. Your child might say, Mother, I thought about me seeing you struggle to take care of me. And I was thinking about, what can I do to help you? I've had people tell me that their own kids told them that, and they're like 7 and 8 years old. So the fact of the matter is that you limit yourself. When you limit yourself, you limit your children. And when you limit your children and you try to tell them that the world is theirs, how? How will that child interpret the world being theirs if you don't push them to their limit because you're not pushing yourself to your limit? Like, how can we build on ourselves? How can we build on our families? How can we build on our friends? But everything starts with a moment of self-reflection. How can we create positivity during this time? I'm going to ask that question one more time. How can we create positivity in light of the situation that is going on? I realize, people are going without jobs. People are losing their jobs just for the moment because of the coronavirus. But also, these are moments where you have opportunity. Opportunity to see where you want to grow and develop. How you can increase. What your limits are. How you can push those limits to where you need to be. Where you want to be. Again, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. Because when you know where you are physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, all of those will line up. They'll line up to create a web of positivity within you. And that's what we want to see. We want to see that web of positivity enacted. We want to be the reflection that we want the world to see. Instead of just, this is the time to come together for yourself, for the well-being of your family. Because without this moment, a lot of people weren't able to sit down and actually think about what they wanted to do because they were bored. So how can we begin action plans of success to moderate ourselves during this time? Again, everything should be done in moderation. Okay? Take one step. You have to create action plans in steps. Because then when one of the small things falls off, you don't feel like the whole thing is not successful. And then you're like, bam, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. Had I did that with my weight loss, do you all know I wouldn't be 167 pounds lighter. I would not be 167 pounds lighter because I've been fighting with my weight all my life since I was a child. I was a child. I was the big fat child that everybody made fun of, everything. So if I didn't fight for my weight and my health and do whatever steps it took for me to get approved through insurance to have gastric sleeve, then guess what? I would probably still be 337 pounds. I would probably be bigger. I probably would not have been where I am now. But I also know where I am mentally. I know where I am spiritually. I know how I feel within my body. It's connected to each other. People say you glow, you glow. I walk with a glow. I walk with a glow because I feel positive energy. And I eliminate negativity from around me. And people don't realize that you are your environment. If you make your environment positive, you will reach positive energy as well. And I mean, you have to remove toxic people. You have to remove toxic things from your life in order to be successful. And that may be letting your husband go. That may be letting your wife go. That may be letting your parent go. But you have to create those boundaries in order to be successful and self-reflect on how everything hits you physically, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. In order for us to be able to hit that capacity, we have to be able to have a clear mindset. And we have to practice things daily to help us have that clear mindset. I would recommend breathing techniques. There are certain breathing techniques that could be done, so that you can make sure that you have moments to reflect on yourself. I would suggest journaling, to see, like, anytime an emotion comes up for you, anytime you get the urge to want to pick up that cigarette, figure out why your nerves are bad in that moment and talk about it with somebody. Because you might not have to pick up that cigarette. Because speaking about what made your nerves go bad can most likely benefit from where you let go of those habitual bad behaviors that can cause health complications. I also want to help you realize that there are methods of practicing self-care. So practice self-care by drinking enough water. Practice self-care by breathing. Practice self-care by taking medications when you feel ill. Practice self-care by watching. Sometimes you might have to watch something funny. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might be like, I need to watch something funny for 5 minutes. You know, people have different methods of self-care. So what can you do in your life to make you feel that you have cared for yourself as much as possible? But we've talked about so many things today, and the main topic right here is everyone saying they're bored. How can you increase yourself and your family during this time of what is going on? That's the main thing. And that's practicing self-care. That's practicing self-reflection. That's doing things as a family together, creating moments of quiet time in the house where you all reflect together, having dinner together. If you don't know how to cook, it's so many YouTube videos out here. You can YouTube a video and say, come on, little Dominique, we about to cook something that we've never cooked, and we're going to do this together. It's so many things that you can do together as a family. And all it takes is just one moment of one decision to impact that. And that way, when your kids go back to school, they can tell you, man, me and my mom cooked together. Me and my mom had quiet time together. Me and my mom had moments of self-reflection together. My mom actually listened to me for the first time. And I felt heard because she wasn't working as much and she could pay attention to me. But my mom made a lot of changes for herself and for us while that happened. And to you, it may be a small change, but to your child, it's the biggest change of their lives. They see your children already look at you as a momentous person. So like those small moments that you carry over will grow and glow with them as they mature. And then with this glow and grow with them, just imagine how much of a significant impact of positivity and ridding negativity in your household during this time. Just imagine how much of an effect that'll have. You and the kids can clean the house together every day. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's make sure everything's sanitized. That's something that everybody is doing together. We worked as a team. Don't just tell your child to get up and clean the house. You go do something too, even if you wiping the same spot on the counter and you just monitoring the kids, making sure they're doing their chores. It doesn't matter if you're doing that and it's showing them my mother is working with me, which means they'll expect that out of other people because we expect things that we see. You see what I'm saying? We expect from others what we see and what we put out into the world. So if we put that out into our kids, if we put that out into ourselves, it will manifest. It will manifest itself so much. The Bible said that faith without works is dead. You cannot expect something without doing something. You have to create an action plan in order to get you there. And so, like Nas said in that song a long time ago, I know I can be who I want to be. If I work hard in it, I'll be who I want to be. We have to know, we have to instill in ourselves that. So we have to practice self-reflection. We have to practice changing our environment to make sure everything is positive, and changing those small things in moderation, creating steps to implement the change. And then that leads to the greatest change within ourselves. This is Marquita Austin. I'm checking off, but I just wanted to reflect on that. Reflect on yourself, grow within yourself, grow for yourself and your kids and your family, and do whatever it takes during this time to practice self-care. And if that means you're sitting in Indian style for 3 minutes, just breathing and focusing on how your brain connects to the rest of your body, to feel where you're feeling pain, to feel what makes you feel anxious, to feel, my stomach is feeling a little weird. Those are things where you begin to notice things about yourself. Doing things like that, practicing self-care, will create an abundance of wealth and health within you. And everything isn't about finances. I know finances stress us out. I know that already. But if we aren't where we want to be mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, you shouldn't expect the finances to align properly. Once we reach those 4 foundations of healing, once you reach those, the finances, they'll get there. Everything might be slow, but we have to remember, we have to create action plans to be successful. So begin to create your action plan. Begin to practice self-reflection. Begin to look at yourself in the mirror and make sure you give yourself affirmations. Tell yourself, I am beautiful. Tell yourself, I am smart. Tell yourself, I am worthy. And those will be the moments that you will see change.